afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here as we prepare to go road course racing, continuing on what's an entire weekend of road course racing. We had the trucks yesterday at Watkins Glen. We're going to have the Hershey's Cup Series drivers tomorrow at Watkins Glen. But we're not in Watkins Glen here today for the Pizza Deck Series race. We are across the ocean, across the Atlantic here in France, getting ready to go racing at the Champs-Elysees Raceway. And it's going to be a wild one here. It's been a long time since we've actually had a race at this track. And this is a really good road course track. And so we're looking forward to this, and especially with the fact that this track is playing such a pivotal role in this season's regular season in the battle for a chance to get into the playoffs, because after today's race, we've only got one more race at Hillside before we determine the 12 drivers that will battle it out in this season's chase for the Pizza Deck Series Championship. But it's going to be 27 laps of racing here today. We know for absolute certain that they cannot make it that full scheduled distance on one tank of fuel. So if we get ourselves into a long green flag run here today, we may see these drivers have to strategize on making a green flag pit stop as to who's going to take this victory. And one thing I've also noticed about this track in the past is it's not always the drivers that have the good starting track position that end up coming out with the win. Some drivers have been able to utilize really good pit strategy to work their way from the back to the front. It's a very winding road course, a little bit of elevation changes here and there, and another thing about it, it's very, very spacious, so you're going to see a lot of passing take place here, I would assume, in the course of today's race. It's an all-female front row, Jessica Miles and A Baranauskas lining up on row 1. Both those drivers still looking for their first win of the season. And it's very congested coming into this race based on the playoff points, because we've had 11 different races this season and 11 different drivers have gone to victory lane, and all 11 of them currently come into this race inside the top 30 in points. So right now only one driver currently would make it into the playoffs via where they're positioned in points, and right now it looks like if we have another previous winner go to victory lane here today, that battle is going to come down between Daniel Olson and Mason Wood, who are 3rd and 4th in points, 10 points separation.
Drivers, start them engines!
And Mater the tow truck made the trip over here to France as well, as he was the one that apparently gave us the command to fire them up. So as these cars will make their way around this, it's a little less than 2.5 miles in length road course, let's give you your overall top 10 of the points coming into today's race, presented to you by Blame Shelley Insurance. Phil Parker, the points leader, had a great run at our race at Darlington last week, and he has grown his points advantage by 30 points over Austin LaPlante now. Daniel Olson in 3rd, as we mentioned, Mason Wood in 4th. Diego Yepez currently in 5th with Z Flickinger 6th. K Batson up there in 7th. Nick Guenther currently runs 8th. Then it's Alex Gray 9th, and Charles Jackson completes the top 10. Now we mentioned 5 or 6 former winners inside of the top 10 there. They would be Parker, LaPlante, Yepez, Flickinger, Batson, and Guenther. As far as the other drivers that would currently be in the playoffs as they stand, Eli Bright is 12th in points, Rob Evans 17th. Patrick Curtis, who won at Darlington last week, he's now up to 23rd. Juan Garcia, our Richmond winner, in 24th. And Elijah Gilbert still hanging in the top 30 in points. He is 27th in the standings coming into today's race. And we talk so much about the playoff drivers, but we have to remember that there are so many drivers here in this field that with a win, they could put themselves in playoff position as well. Olson, Wood, we mentioned them already, but Alex Gray, Charles Jackson, Alexander Rowe, 9th through 11th in points, 13th through 16th in points with Cole Deaver, Angel Navarro, Brooke Allen, and Chloe Ericsson. And you could even go further down and add drivers like Jake Rogers, Andrew Davis, Quentin Moore, Andrew Gonzalez, Garrett Sydnor, Joshua Hyatt, and Nathan Hudson. If all of them find victory lane, they all are running ahead of Elijah Gilbert in the point standings, and they would probably have themselves in a good position heading into Hillside next week to make it into this season's playoffs. But there's also other drivers that could win that are like 30th on down as well. Gene Sandfer 30th, Jessica Miles 31st, James Shelley 32nd, Carson Gum 33rd. All these drivers are less than 10 points back from 30th in the standings, so a win would not only put a crooked number in their win column, but also probably move them into the top 30 in the point standings. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here in today's race, to see what's going to set us up for our point scenario heading into Hillside next week. saw pit strategy came into play in yesterday's Coors Light Truck Series race. Now, obviously, not a lot that happened at Watkins Glen are we able to apply here to Champs-Elysees, but we ended up having where the second place driver, which at the time was Isaac Nichols, came to pit road 1 lap later than the leader at the time. And when the pit stops were finished, second place driver came out with the race lead, and Nichols went on to actually win that race. So I don't know if that would necessarily apply here at this racetrack. They are entirely two different animals. But do you think that maybe something like that might be a strategy that these drivers are thinking about? Maybe getting that extra track position with staying out a little bit longer when and if those green flag pit stops take place. And the pit fuel window, I do believe, is somewhere around 15 to 17 laps. So if we end up having a caution take place somewhere within, say, the first 10 to 12 laps, these drivers are probably able to make a pit stop and be able to make it the rest of the way on fuel. Now, we are going to have to go to our helicopter cam when they come around this corner because you can't really see them. There's not really a very good camera angle to see them when they come around that corner, but here we go. Are you ready to go road course racing here in France? I certainly am. I wish I knew how to say green in French, but here we go. Getting ready to go racing for the first time in a long time at Champs-Elysees. Let's roll! Wow, that was close right there. Almost some contact between the 2 and the 25 as A Baranauskas is going to go to the race lead. Jessica Miles wisely slots into second just ahead of K Langeland's number 30. This part of the racetrack reminds me in some ways of the S's at Watkins Glen, but just a little bit more spacious. A Baranauskas does have a road course win to her credit, taking the checkered flag. I think it was back in season 3 at Watkins Glen. You see a little bit of elevation changes here as they go up the hill and then back around. I think I just saw the flagman waving the caution, and indeed he did. So we do have the yellow flag waving for the first time. We had an incident apparently on lap 1. Must have taken place somewhere closer towards mid-pack or rear of the field because I didn't see it happen. Yellow flag waving for the first time here today. And this will not put these drivers into their fuel window, by the way. And Rob Evans is currently sitting down on pit road in the 88. That's a driver that came into this race 17th in points, former winner from Atlanta, so he was involved in whatever the incident was. And it might have only been him. Everybody else back here doesn't look like they've really got any damage of any kind. So it looks like it was just the 88 car of Rob Evans that brought out our first caution of the day. The pits will be open. I would be very surprised if any of our leaders come down since we're not yet into our fuel window. So let's take the opportunity to go back and look at a replay of what brought out the caution for the first time here today at Champs-Elysees. I think this takes place just after they took the green flag. I mentioned this track is very spacious. There's very wide lanes. That doesn't necessarily mean, though, that these drivers are going to be giving each other a lot of room. Now, we're focused here on the 88 of Rob Evans because he was the one that apparently brought out the caution. He's going to step out of line here, heading down into the first turn left-hander. And there was a little contact back here, actually. I don't know who that started with, but whoever it was got Rob Evans out of shape. He's going to go and he's going to get the 15 of Cole Deaver and the 81 of H Gallant. And then he goes off course there. And I think the reason Rob Evans had to teleport to pit road is out there is gravel, and it's very hard to get your car back onto the racetrack. Let's see if we can get another camera angle and see if we can find out where the contact initially started. They all just started stacking up, and there's Charles Jackson with a big run. He never slowed down. Oh, and he sideswiped the 88. did Jackson in the 78. And that's what sends him up into Cole Deaver and H Gallant. Eli Bright might have gotten a little piece of that. And you can see they're 3 wide and 4 wide going into that first corner. And Charles Jackson, he had apparently a very late braking zone. He was going to get 10, 12 cars in the first corner. And I think Rob Evans might have moved down just a little bit. Wasn't expecting Jackson was going to have such a run. And the side swipe sends him up into others, including Deaver and H Gallant, which Cole Deaver didn't need that to happen because Deaver comes into this race 13th in points. He's trying to get himself up there in position to get into the playoffs. Rob Evans, on the other hand, is trying to keep himself in the top 30 in the standings, so he's probably going to lose a lap having to teleport to pit road. But fortunately, he didn't get majorly wrecked, so maybe if another incident takes place, Rob can pick up some spots. Lights out atop the pace car. We work road course yellows here. When the yellow comes out, leaders catch the pace car. Next time by, pit road is open. Next time by, we go back green. So green flag will come back out on lap 4 of 27. On A Baranauskas, we saw get around Jessica Miles in the first few corners on the first lap. So she'll get us back underway over Miles. Then it's Langeland in 3rd. 4th place, Ryan George. And Quentin Moore rides there in 5th. 6th, Nick Guenther. Alexander Rowe, 7th. 8th place right now is Phil Parker. 9th is J Sandfer with Austin LaPlante completing the top 10. Couple of drivers I would keep an eye on here. Some of the drivers that we focused on that could get themselves into playoff contention here today. You've got Quentin Moore there in the 5th position. Alexander Rowe in 7th. I think these are 2 drivers in particular that are running high enough in the point standings that they could have something to say here about getting up into playoff contention. Quentin Moore is 20th in points, and Alexander Rowe is 11th in the standings. 2 drivers that we're focusing on here in terms of if we have a repeat winner here today, battling for that final playoff position via points, are Daniel Olson and Mason Wood. Let's see where those 2 are restarting. They came into this race separated by 10 points. Olson's going to restart this race from the 40th position, and Mason Wood is restarting from 35th. So they're both near the rear of the field for this restart. So that might play into the hands of a driver maybe like Alexander Rowe, Alex Gray, Charles Jackson. Those 3 in particular come into this race about roughly 50 to 60 points behind those front 2 runners of Olson and Wood. So they need a good points day, and they need the 27 and 32 to run into some issues here as this race continues on. Baranauskas comes into this race 37th in points, and if she can close it out with a win, she needs to get herself up at least close to the top 30 in the stand. She's only 12 points back from 30th in points, which is currently held by J Sandfer. So Baranauskas does have an opportunity here with a victory to get into the top 30 in points. Same for Jessica Miles. Miles only is 2 points out of 30th in the standings. So as we will restart, we will have a total of 24 laps to go here at Champs-Elysees. Single file restart, so maybe we'll get ourselves into a long green flag run now as green flag is back in the air. Well, Baranauskas was ready. Miles caught napping. Langeland's going to challenge for 2nd. Quentin Moore just got around Ryan George for 4th very quickly there. And Langeland trying to put the pass on Jessica Miles that Baranauskas did on the first lap. Langeland will take the 2nd position. Miles now back to 3rd, Moore in 4th, George in 5th. There you see Phil Parker back there riding wide. 1st and 2nd in the point standings, Parker and LaPlante both up here inside of the top 10, just outside of the top 10, right behind LaPlante. There's our winner from last week, Patrick Curtis, who picked up 9 spots in the standings with his win at Darlington. Has himself now in contention for a spot in the playoffs and looking good here today. Last time by, crossed in the 13th position. Now battling with the 19 of J Yepez, our winner from Charlotte earlier on this year. Seeing a lot of our former winners up here. There's Z Flickinger, the 96, our winner from Arizona. LaPlante, our winner from Dover. Parker, our winner from Memphis. N Guenther just ahead there, our winner from Phoenix. There's a lot of our former winners running up here just inside of the top 15. I think I also saw J Gilbert was back there not too far. So all of these former race winners realizing they've got to keep themselves up there away from 30th in the points and making good on that here today, at least with good starting track position. Battle for second. Quentin Moore to the inside of K Langeland. At 89's been on go since the restart, and he's going to bypass for the position. So in the last 2.5 laps or so, Quentin Moore has moved from 5th up to 2nd. He might have the fastest car on track. He just ran his fastest lap last time by, and he was about 4/10 faster than A Baranauskas, who also ran her fastest lap last time by. So if I'm the 2, I might be looking in my rearview mirror pretty quickly, because I think that 89 has thoughts about getting up there for the race lead. Quentin Moore has never won a Pizza Hut X Series race. He's 20th in the points coming into this race. There's no doubt in my mind that if he goes to victory lane, he's going to make his way into the playoffs. And Jessica Miles is falling like a rock. The pole sitter is not going the right direction. She's now just lost a spot in the top 5 to N Guenther. And remember, every position that's being made up on track is very important, because every position you make up on track could really be important in terms of that pit stop you make. Let's say you're running in 5th place and you gain 3 spots in pit road, that only puts you up to 2nd. But if you're running in 3rd and you gain 3 spots on pit road, you're going to be in the lead. So every position on track is really important, especially when you know that there are green flag pit stops looming. This is a good battle going on here. Kev Shearer Racing Tech entry Ryan George against Gardner Racing, or actually Fitzwater Australia Racing entry K Langeland. This is for the final spot on the podium, as Quentin Moore is continuing to close up the gap between himself and A Baranauskas. That last time by a 120.2 for Baranauskas, 119.9 for Quentin Moore. So he is flying. Now the question is, can he set up the 2 car to be able to make a pass? There's a lot of passing zones here. This is one of the few road courses we go to where there's actually a lot of opportunity to be able to make passes. Most tracks you have to wait for about 2-3 specific areas, but here just about every part of the racetrack you can make a pass. I mean, like we saw, they were 3 wide, 4 wide down here into these first few corners on the first beginning lap of this race. That just tells you right there that if you can have a wide enough, spacious enough track to be able to do that, there's plenty of places to be able to make passes, whether you're going to pass left, pass right, all the way through this track. Lost a little bit of ground that time, did the 89 to Baranauskas. Those 2 ran just about the same lap time that time. Maybe a 10th quicker was Quentin Moore. Ryan George right there in 3rd place though. 4th place Langeland, and N Guenther, our Phoenix winner, very good at road courses, and he's up there inside of the top 5. N Guenther was kind of a surprise finisher last week at Darlington when he put his number 55 in the runner-up position. He was trying to run down Patrick Curtis, but Curtis had a runaway. N Guenther led 8 laps last week and looked like he might have been one of the drivers to compete for the win, but Patrick Curtis just killed everybody after the green flag pit stops were complete. But with that runner-up finish, N Guenther jumped up 8 spots in the standings up to 8th place. So Guenther turning up the heat here as we close in on the end of our regular season battle for the lead. Quentin Moore gets alongside the left rear quarter panel. Is he going to stay there? He's going to try and make the pass down here into turn 1. Ooh, Baranauskas really wide off the corner. The car almost stepped out from underneath her, and Quentin Moore is going to clear for the top position. So Quentin Moore set Baranauskas up in that final 180-degree turn and made the pass complete through the first few corners. So we've had a lead change here, and it takes place on lap number 8. Second lead change of the day. The first one was when Baranauskas took the lead from Jessica Miles back on lap 1. I'm also noticing back here a couple of drivers starting to work their way up in the top 10 here. Alexander Rowe and J Sandfer battling, and Patrick Curtis has worked his way to 9th now, trying to get by these 2. Phil Parker, points leader, been very consistent this year. 30-point advantage coming into this race over LaPlante, who's running right behind him. Those two in 10th and 11th. They've been very consistent this season as well. Probably two of the favorites to look at heading into the playoffs. Z Flickinger, who is 6th in the point standings. He's been consistent. I mean, look at these former winners we got back here. There's D Yepez. Oh, trouble! Someone got hit. Jessica Miles is slow. 25 is slow. There was contact with somebody. I saw some debris flying around. And Jessica Miles is off the pace. Problems for the 25, our pole sitter. No caution, though. And she's holding up J Jefferson there. Hopefully everybody's going to be able to get around her in this section. Whoa, they're going to split her 3 wide. Car's still under power, but I don't know if something's gone wrong mechanically on that Napa Chevrolet or what. But look at some other former winners that are there. 14th place, you got K Batson. 15th, Diego Yepez. 16th, actually that's actually a 13th, 14th, and 15th with J Gilbert. So a lot of former winners up here. Back up towards the front. Quentin Moore has pulled away by almost a half second back to A Baranauskas, and I'm not certain if that incident that we saw right there with Jessica Miles affected the top 2, but it would have probably affected from like 4th place on back here. Ryan George in 3rd, Langeland 4th, Guenther in 5th. This might be the next brewing battle up near the front between Langeland and Guenther. Got a battle back here. That's for 8th place. Alexander Rowe and Patrick Curtis. Curtis will clear for the position. Patrick Curtis, now a 3-time winner in the Pizza Deck Series, had 2 wins back in season 3. And of course, won last week at Darlington. J Sandfer in the 70 comes into this race 30th in the point standings, that critical position. And look at this, battle between the top 2 in points. LaPlante trying to get by Phil Parker. Now, with both of them running so close to each other, there's very little chance LaPlante's going to be able to reel in Phil Parker for the points lead. Might be able to gain a point on him or 2, unless something drastic happens on the green flag pit stops. But these two, they've been around each other most of this season. These two have been battling for that points lead really ever since Memphis. Oh, I thought we were going to have a battle here between Langeland and Guenther, but it might turn into a 4-horse fight as J Sandfer and Patrick Curtis are also starting to close in, and the caution is out. Caution flag is out for the 2nd time. Alex Gray back there near the rear of the field. I think the leader had already crossed the line, so we're racing back to the caution. And this is a very interesting caution because this now, I think, would put the drivers somewhere in their fuel window. So they're now going to get the benefit of making the pit stops under caution rather than under green, I think. Yeah, I think Baranauskas may have crossed Bennett before the start-finish line when the caution came out. Quentin Moore had already crossed the line, and so he's racing back. Baranauskas and them, they're realizing, oh wait, we've got to actually catch up to the leader and catch up to the pace car. So Quentin Moore, we're still technically under green, racing back to the yellow flag. And I think the caution came out right before 2nd place crossed the line and just after 1st place crossed the line. So a bit of an untimely caution here. And there you saw the yellow flag being waved. So we are under caution for the 2nd time here today at Champs-Elysees. We saw Alex Gray near the rear of the field, so I assume the Exalta number 0 had something to do with this yellow flag. And it takes place right on the bubble of that fuel window for these drivers. So we'll quickly look back at a replay of what happened, then we'll come back for the pit stops and see if anyone's going to roll some strategy to gain some track position here under caution. Battle for just around the 30th position between Alex Gray and Mason Wood. Mason Wood, with not a good qualifying result, trying to keep himself in contention for a playoff position, just gets into Alex Gray's right rear quarter panel, turns him down there into the wall, and then Gray's going to try and save it and goes up and pancakes the left side as well. So pretty heavy contact there for Alex Gray as he hits both the left and right sides of his race cars. And I'm not really sure if Mason Wood got any damage out of that or not either. He might have brushed that wall with the right side of his machine. So a battle towards the rear of the field brings out the caution for the second time today, sets us up for the pit stops. Let's go back now, or let's go forward now and see those pit stops, see if anyone might try and see if they can gain track position on Quentin Moore, or will they be coming off pit road the same way they come in. Pits are open. We are currently live, and we will see if these drivers do hit pit road. Now, the fuel window, as I said, is about 15 to 17 laps. When they hit pit road, we're going to be somewhere in the 15-lap range. So they should be good to go on fuel, but they have to get the tank completely full of fuel. See if they're going to come to pit road. If they don't come to pit road, they're going to have to pit under green. There's no way they can save enough to make it the entirety of this race. I think everyone would be foolish if they don't come to pit road this lap, and it looks like they're all going to come to pit lane. Oh, wait a minute. Are they? Yes, they are. Okay, I wasn't sure if the 89 was indicating he was going to come to pit road or not. So we're going to focus on the race leader, Quentin Moore, because he's the race leader, and we're going to see if he's going to be the race leader when they come off of pit lane. Might want to also go with the 4-tire stop so you have that added grip. Not sure what happened to the 2. Oh, there's some drivers staying out? Okay, this is odd. N Guenther, J Sandfer staying out. Flickinger, Batson, Yepez, Canario. That's Brooke Allen, Nathan Hudson, Carson Gum, Andrew Gonzalez, Carter Friesen, Wyatt Quayle, Mason Wood, Chloe Ericsson, and Charles Jackson all staying out. Now, why are they staying out? And I think Baranauskas stayed out as well in the 2. She did. I don't understand this strategy at all. Who's going to win the battle off pit road? It is going to be Quentin Moore. Then Ryan George, Patrick Curtis, Langeland, and Alexander Rowe, followed by Elijah Gilbert. I am extremely confused about this strategy. Why risk it? You had a caution that you were able to utilize to come to pit road. Well, we have one driver out of the race so far. That is Jessica Miles. They don't say why. I'm assuming due to crash damage, which you guys saw happen on the NNSCRA split cam. Rob Evans spent a lap on pit road after being our first caution, so he's still trapped a lap down. So 40 of our remaining 41 drivers on the lead lap. The running order on the top left is not going to look like what they're actually running because of the drivers that hit pit road. So it's Baranauskas going to be the leader with N Guenther second, J Sandfer third, Z Flickinger fourth, K Batson in fifth. The only thing I can possibly assume is that these drivers here are expecting that with the fuel window the way it is, that 15 to 17 laps, that those drivers that already just came to pit road, that they're going to have to pit again. That's the only thing I can think of. We don't know exactly how early these drivers or how late these drivers were going to have to pit. We had the caution come out somewhere around lap 10, lap 11, so we were closing in on when the green flag pit stops were going to be, but we didn't exactly reach that point. So when we go back green, there's going to be a total of 14 laps to go. I would assume with the fuel window being 15 to 17 laps, that all those drivers that just hit pit road, they're going to be able to make it. So we're going to probably have to fall back when we go green to Quentin Moore, Kyle Langeland, Ryan George, Patrick Curtis, those guys, and watch that battle back there, because that could potentially be the battle for the race lead and as consequence, the battle for the win, if those drivers can make it, and all these drivers up here are going to have to come to pit road, give up their track position. Really confused about this strategy, unless the speculation I have of the fact that those drivers that came to pit road can't make it either, and these drivers didn't want to give up that track position, but somehow I don't think that's going to pan out the way they think. A Baranauskas, though, I mean, she comes into this race 37th in the point standings, needs to make the top 30 in points, needs to get a win. I mean, I guess it's one of those go for broke things. J Sandfer also down there near the bottom of the point standings. And I think maybe like N Guenther, Z Flickinger, some of those guys that are staying out, K Batson, I think what they're thinking is, hey, if this strategy works out, then we can end up heading into the playoffs as the points leader. And as soon as I say this now, they're all heading for pit road. They're all coming to pit road here, but we're going green. So I'm really confused. I think are they thinking that there's going to be another caution here? Whatever the case, I'm very confused about this strategy. So they're all on pit road. The race leader is going to be Quentin Moore when we go back green now, with Ryan George second, Patrick Curtis third, Langeland fourth, and fifth will be A Rowe. Then it's Gilbert, Davis, Navarro, Phil Parker, and Joshua Hyatt, the top 10. Green flag back in the air here at Champs-Elysees. Sounded like there was some contact made back there. A lot of different braking zones heading down to turn 1. Well, we know Quentin Moore's got a strong car on the long run. Question is, what about on the short run? Is he going to be able to gap himself back to Ryan George? Ryan George struggling this season. He's 40th in the point standings coming into this race. I don't know if he necessarily with a win could get his way into the top 30 in the points. The gap between him and 30th is 31 points. Maybe. He is all over the back bumper of Quentin Moore. Here's the Pittsburgh Steelers Camaro. Battle for third back there, A Rowe and Patrick Curtis. A Rowe's got a chance to make it into the playoffs if he gets a win here today. And Ryan George keeping pace with the 89. Here they come down into the final corner. A lot of drivers like to use that as an opportunity to pass, and doesn't look like Ryan George quite going to get there, but he's right within striking distance of the 89. And we got a battle for fourth back here. Rowe has taken the spot of third. Now J Gilbert trying to get by Patrick Curtis for fourth. Nice run by the rookie Andrew Davis, currently in 7th place, trying to get the position away from K Langeland. Been a good battle in the rookie point standings as well so far this season. K Batson, Rob Evans, N Guenther, Andrew Davis, they've all been swapping the points lead around. Juan Garcia and Andrew Gonzalez also still in the thick of it, along with J Sandfer. Right now, coming into this race, K Batson had a 3-point advantage over Rob Evans, 4 points over N Guenther. Right now, Batson running closer to the rear of the field because she was one of those drivers that came to pit road when we went back green. Rob Evans is trapped a lap down, so Andrew Davis with an opportunity to maybe take the points lead back. N Guenther also was one of those drivers that decided to stay out and came to pit road when we were coming to green flag. Well, Ryan George on the initial start was there on the back bumper of the 89, but now he's kind of losing touch with him. And the car looks like he's actually on a mission, moving his way towards the front, is that 66 of J Gilbert, who did not have a good run the last time we were at a road course 2 weeks ago at the Daytona road course. Had to make a couple of unscheduled pit stops, finished dead last. It was actually that race that put him in danger of falling outside of the top 30 in the point standings and not having his win at the beginning of the season at Daytona count towards a spot in the playoffs. Right now trying to reel in A Rowe, that Auto Trader Ford Mustang out of Smart Motorsports. Team owner Cody Smart, boy, has he been on a roll as of late. My goodness. Picking up that win, first career win last week in the Hershey's Cup Series race at Darlington. Gilbert looked like he thought about taking a look, trying to get to the right side of Alexander Rowe, and looks like he's going to get him going down here into the final corner. He's going to be at least to the inside through this turn. The outside line gets good momentum off the corner, though. We'll see if Rowe can battle back. Nope. Looks like Elijah Gilbert's going to clear him. No, he's not. That outside line did get the run off the corner, so Rowe is going to keep this battle going down into turn 1. Now, the first car, 69 got a little loose there. Now, the first car that, whoa. Someone's off the pace back there. That's the 07 of Angel Navarro. He's got damage, too. I think he might have hit the wall. Hit the wall or he hit something. Now, the first car that came to pit road when we went back green was the 2 of A Baranauskas. She was the leader at the time. Here's all those guys back here. N Guenther scored in the 25th position. All these drivers are way back here. Sandfer, Batson, B Allan, Flickinger. See them all running back towards the rear of the field. These are all drivers that came to pit road when we went back green, so they have lost touch with the rest of the field. Like I said, I think their only hope right now is that all these other drivers up here near the front cannot make it the rest of the way without having to come to pit road. When we went back green, there was 14 laps remaining, which I would think would be within their fuel window. But then again, maybe not. We only made it to lap 10 before that caution came out, and we had a caution in between that as well for them to be able to save fuel. So we really don't know just how many laps these drivers can turn before they absolutely have to come to pit road. So if Quentin Moore cannot make it, and all the rest of these drivers behind him that came to pit road on the first lap of the last caution, and right now N Guenther would stand to take the race lead. But right now he is running in the 25th position. A couple of drivers that probably not too excited that the 89 is out in front would be Daniel Olson and Mason Wood, because those two have been battling for that final spot in the playoffs via points. If Quentin Moore goes to victory lane here today, he's 20th in the points coming into this race, and he would definitely take the 12th position in the playoff standings heading into Hillside. And it would make it very interesting in terms of the battle for the final playoff position next week at Hillside, because we'd be heading into Hillside with 12 different race winners in those 12 playoff positions. And if we had another different winner go to victory lane that was inside the top 30 in points, that would basically mean that a driver that has found victory lane this season would not be participating in the chase for the championship. Coming into this race, the lowest drivers in the point standings were Patrick Curtis, Juan Garcia, and Elijah Gilbert, 23rd, 24th, and 27th in the points respectively. Gilbert's running up here in the 3rd position, so he would probably get himself out of that battle. But what about Patrick Curtis and Juan Garcia? We know that Curtis is up there in 7th, so it might fall onto that 95. To hope and pray that a different winner doesn't go to victory lane at Hillside. And also we got Rob Evans back there though too. Rob Evans came into this race in the 17th position in points, and he's currently trapped a lap down. I think right now the best he's going to be able to finish is around the 40th position. Well, 41st right now. So he's going to lose a ton of positions in the standings, ton of points, and so that might drop him down into that danger zone as well. Where is Juan Garcia currently running? He's currently in 20th place as the 95. Well, right now, if either one of our top two go to victory lane, that would be a different winner. But in the case of Ryan George, we already alluded to, he's about 31 points back from 30th in the standings. He's mired down 40th in points. So if he goes to victory lane, that would be a little bit less of a threat to those drivers trying to make it in via the point standings. Quentin Moore, though, is a definite threat. When we hit the line, there'll be 7 laps to go, and there's still that question. Are these drivers absolutely good to go on fuel? And to Ryan George's credit, he hasn't exactly looked like he has a car to be able to get by Quentin Moore, but Quentin Moore has not driven away from the 4 machine. Ryan George has at least kept in touch. I don't think that Quentin Moore has had any advantage greater than half a second between himself and Ryan George since we went back green. So maybe Ryan George is saving something. You saw right there he had a much later braking zone than Quentin Moore. Seems like he's a little bit better through this corner, but Quentin Moore is able to gap him when they get through the first few corners of this racetrack. That time by, still about 4/10 separation between Moore and George. Quentin Moore drives a little deeper into the first corner. And slowly also the gap is closing up from these top 2 and 3rd place Elijah Gilbert. Gilbert was about 2 seconds back. He's now less than that, 1.9 seconds back. Pretty good day so far for a couple of the drivers out of Smart Motorsports. How about the rookie Sky Commons? Right now in the 8th position, a great outing for that driver. Just ahead of Patrick Curtis. And just behind the points leader, Phil Parker. Joshua Hyatt, Full Frontal Motorsports, running in 6th. A nice run for the Aaron's Dream Machine. And then just completing the top 10 is Wrigley Motorsports driver Jake Rogers. Run for him as well. A couple other drivers back there too. Cole Deaver, who we saw get involved in the first wreck with Rob Evans. And Heather Gallant, he's up in 13th place. And just ahead of him, J Jefferson. Good run for him in 12th. These are all drivers that came to pit road on the first lap of the last caution. And they're definitely reaping the rewards of it. All up inside of the top 20 right now. Back up towards the front. That time, the gap remained just about the same between Quentin Moore and Ryan George, and Elijah Gilbert lost a little bit of ground that time. See, let's compare the lap times. A 120.9 for Quentin Moore. Actually, it was a 120.932, and it was a 923 for Ryan George. So they're running just about identical lap times. Elijah Gilbert with a 977, so he was a little bit slower. Those were in the 120s, a 121.1 for Alexander Rowe, so he's a little bit slower, and a 121.4 for Andrew Davis. So the fast cars are definitely at the front. The top 3 ran in the 120s. 4th place on back were in the 121s. Let's actually see who set the fastest lap of the day so far, as we are now going to be 22 laps into this race, and it would be Elijah Gilbert. The 119.726 fastest lap set today. Brooke Allen with a 119.7 as well. Ryan George, 3rd fastest with a 119.8. And also Andrew Gonzalez and Quentin Moore have run in the 119.8s during the course of this race. Well, as Quentin Moore hit the line, there are 5 laps to go here at Champs-Elysees. Do these drivers have enough fuel to make it the rest of the way? At last time by, Quentin Moore gained about 5 100ths on both 2nd and 3rd place. So he's starting little by little to start to pull away. Remember, it was as the run went on that Quentin Moore got better and better and was able to then complete the pass on A Baranauskas then for the race lead. We know he's got a good long run car, so as the race progresses, the 89 starts to come into his own and starts to lay down a little bit better lap times. The last time by, you could tell that the car was starting to go away speed-wise as he was in the 121s. Let's see what he runs this time. This time he's going to hit a 121.4. And Ryan George just about the same, maybe 3/100ths faster. Is Elijah... Are they on pit road? I think Elijah Gilbert's on pit road. He is! Oh my goodness. Elijah Gilbert has hit pit lane. Alexander Rowe's on pit road. Heather Gallant, Andrew Gonzalez, Juan Garcia, Mark Davidson, and Angel Navarro all on pit lane. And this could fall into the hands of those drivers that decided to come to pit road when we went back green. I think this right here might be the battle for the lead between N Guenther and K Batson, if these other leaders here cannot make it on fuel. Oh, this is crazy. Closing on 5, we're less than 5 to go. And this race is going to be another fuel strategy race. We saw fuel strategy racing in yesterday's Truck Series race at Watkins Glen. I'm expecting we're going to see fuel strategy racing in tomorrow's Hershey's Cup Series race. And it's the same old story here today at Champs-Elysees. Quentin Moore's coming to pit road. George is in as well. What about these guys? Anybody going to risk it and stay out an extra lap? Nope. Hyatt's in. Davis, Parker, Sky Commons is in, Jake Rogers is in. None of these guys are risking it. They're all coming to pit road. And I believe Brooke Allen's going to be the last of these drivers to have to hit pit lane. And then it's going to cycle the lead to N Guenther. Yeah, K Batson's on pit road. So Gunther's going to stay out an extra lap here. So Gunther's going to inherit the top position. And he's got a huge gap from himself back to... Wait, is Gilbert? I think Gilbert came out just behind the 55. And if that's the case... Hold on a second. Did Quentin Moore just make his pit stop and he's still going to come out the leader? This is interesting. I think Quentin Moore is going to be the leader still. I think they got the pit stop done before Guenther got around. Gunther's in second, I think. George in third. Gilbert is in fourth, with Phil Parker in fifth. I think somehow they had such a huge gap back to the 55 that Guenther was only able to race his way up to the second position. He wasn't actually able to pass Quentin Moore for the race lead. Quentin Moore was just on pit road, so we know now he's good to go on fuel. Now the question is about N Guenther. Is N Guenther good to go on fuel? Guenther is coming to pit road. So that's going to be giving up the second position, I believe. Ryan George will now slot into second place. And Quentin Moore is indeed still the race leader with 2 laps to go. So N Guenther and company, I think we're hoping for a caution. The caution would have probably put them into their fuel window then of being able to make it. But because they had to pit coming to green, they lost so much time on pit lane. Quentin Moore, when he came to make his green flag pit stop, was able to get in and get out before Guenther even came around to take the lead away from him. So it's Quentin Moore the leader. Ryan George now almost 3 seconds back in second. Elijah Gilbert's in third. This is a battle for fourth. Phil Parker and Alexander Rowe fourth and fifth. Sky Commons in sixth. Jake Rogers seventh. Eighth is Joshua Hyatt. Ninth is Heather Gallant. And completing the top 10 right now would be Andrew Davis. Cole Deaver 11th, 12th Patrick Curtis, 13th Matt McIntyre, 14th would be J Jefferson, 15th Kyle Langeland, 16th is going to be Eli Bright, 17th James Shelley, 18th Mark Davidson, and completing the top 20, Juan Garcia and Garrett Sydnor. White flag was just displayed for the Racing with Jesus Chevy Camaro of Quentin Moore out of Q-Man Motorsports. Quentin Moore looking to make team history. It would be his first career win. It would be probably his first career appearance in the playoffs. And what a time to do it. He has almost 3.5 second separation between himself and Ryan George. He just needs to hit his marks, make sure that he doesn't screw up anything mechanically. He's got a fast car, he's got enough fuel, he just has to make it to the checkers. Came into this race 20th in the points, 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s, so every finish he had in the top 10 has been in the top 5, and that trend will continue here today, as Quentin Moore is going to make us probably head into Hillside with the top 12 playoff positions all being filled by race winners from this season. For the first time in his career, he'll see the checkered flag in the Pizza Hut X Series. Quentin Moore wins at Champs-Elysees. Quentin Moore, who has run in this series, I believe since season, I want to say season 2. I believe he took over the 89 for the season 1 champion, Benny Watson. So he's been in this series for a long, long time as Quentin Moore. I can double check on that statistic. But finally, after a long, long winless drought, he's finally going to get it done here today at Champs-Elysees. Doesn't even get it in the U.S., gets it across the ocean. But I think he'll take the checkered flag whatever way he can get it. And yet, another race of fuel strategy. And how about that timing? As soon as we window out, the standings do indeed become official. I'm just quickly double checking to see, yes, Quentin Moore's rookie season was season 2. And he took over the 89 car for Benny Watson, who put the car as the championship winning team in season 1. You look at the seasons that Quentin Moore has had, you go back to his rookie season there. He ended up finishing out the year 31st in the points, only 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s. You jump ahead to season 3. Quentin Moore finished out that year in the, if I can find him. Was he not in the series that year? I guess he wasn't in the series that year. I thought he's been running since season 2, but I guess he wasn't in the Pizza Hut X series back in season 3. But we know he was last year. And Quentin Moore finished out that season. No, he wasn't in last season either. Wow. For some reason, I seem to have remembered Quentin Moore being in the Pizza Hut X series for the last 3 years, and he was only in the series in season 2. Well, that's interesting. Okay then, so I guess his winless streak isn't as long as I expected it was. So that would mean that he only, coming into this race, was riding technically a 38 race winless streak. I thought it was a lot more than that. Regardless, though, it is his first career win, so I am correct in that, as he went winless in his rookie season back in season 2. Ryan George, so close, but that green flag pit stop, I think the car just went away. He finished 4 seconds back in second place. Elijah Gilbert continues to make his case of trying to become a 2-time Pizza Hut X Series champ, as he'll probably make it into the playoffs with that third place run. Alexander Rowe there in 4th. Boy, Alexander Rowe might have gotten himself up there in contention with Mason Wood and Daniel Olson to maybe get in via points, but now with 12 different race winners, it's going to make that very difficult for the 69 team. Sky Commons, his teammate, though, great run there in 5th. Andrew Davis, Phil Parker, Jake Rogers finish out the top 8. How about Heather Gallant there in 9th after getting involved in the first caution of the day? She's going to get in 9th place. Joshua Hyatt there in 10th. And Cole Deaver was also in the first wreck of the day, and he'll bring it home in 11th place. Matt McIntyre, Patrick Curtis, J Jefferson, and K Langeland will complete the top 15. You look down here through the remainder of the finishing results. On to Baranauskas, who we saw up near the front very early on in this race. Well, she finishes way back in 39th. Not the run that she was looking for. And also, you look a little bit further down there, Jessica Miles started on the pole. Was the only car to finish out of the race. Rob Evans, the rookie winner at Atlanta, pinned one lap down in 41st. He's also going to drop in the point standings after today's race. So it's going to make it very interesting when we head into Hillside next week. 12 drivers have gone to victory lane. More than likely, all will still, I think, be in the top 30 in the points when we get there. But what's going to happen? Are we going to have those 12 be the ones that'll be in the playoffs, or will we see somebody get a last-minute win at Hillside and knock one of them out? I don't know. It's going to come down to the wire. You got to bet about that. But Quentin Moore adds his name into the list of those drivers that are contending for a playoff position here this season. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race from Champs-Elysees. Great to be back at this racetrack. If you enjoyed this race, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to become part of the crew today. We have shown you full finish results. These are your rookie point standings and your overall point standings heading into next week's season finales for all three series at Hillside Raceway. We finish off this race weekend as we go back to Watkins Glen tomorrow for the Hershey's Cup Series race to set them up for their season finale. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you guys next week, where the playoff grids for all three series will be determined. As you've been watching a production of the NCRA Offline Racing at its best, Quentin Moore gets career win number 1 here today at Champs-Elysees.